so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Are you ready?
Stand up for our Constitution. Stand up for our Constitution and protect our God-given rights. Travels with the Stephenson. John Stephenson here. 859-750-0000. God bless America. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition of godly principles, prayers and faith and love.
For everybody. Praise the Lord. And we'll turn that off for right now. In just a second, we're just going to go to another one here, but we want to take and ask Randy. Can you play that little song you mentioned for us, Randy? And we got a national anthem in, and then we're going to have a little fun music here if we can. And in the meantime, I'll try to shut this off and get ready for our next one. And what's the song you're going to do?
It's Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
George Cohen.
George?
George Cohen.
And Randy Wallace, a minister at Oak Ridge Baptist Church.
I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, Yankee Doodle to a die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. Got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle went to London just to buy a pony. I am that Yankee Doodle boy. Dandy, Yankee Doodle do I die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. Got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle went to London just to buy a pony. I am that Yankee Doodle, I am that Yankee Doodle, I am that Yankee Doodle boy.
Fantastic, Randy. I didn't realize that when I asked you to play that one, Randy, that it was so cold out there when we came in. I had to pump gas into June's car and my car, and my hands about froze up so stiff I couldn't hardly move. I was sitting there thinking, oh my, his fingers are frozen up. Time work.
I've got those bits on the heater.
I can't blame you. Now this is a little 3-minute thing here, folks. We always like to look back since we're only doing the show once a month now. We try to take a little look back. And if you all remember correctly, we've been helping out some veterans in Northern Kentucky's area. And one of them has been Darius Beach, so I want to show you just a little bit here on the camera here, a little bit about what went on. If I can get this thing to working here. Let's see here now. How can I help? Well, let's go right here with help. Let's see now. Play. Zoom in on that, Miss June. Now there's a camper, thanks to the Rifle Day campers down in Walton, Kentucky, and Mike Bryant. And to see some sewer work that we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 months here to help Darius get sanitation into his little camper and water into his little camper and electric into his little camper. Well, thanks to a lot of people, including Larry Hensley and his son Gary, and helping with the electric lines. And Tim Kaufman, you see Tim there. He plays a little music too. And you can see him on our Facebook page and on YouTube. And of course, there's just June and I. And we've been working on Darius's camper. Oh, look at there, Chuck. My goodness gracious, that's you and the judge. My goodness. And the judge was on last week's show. So, of course, there we see we sang for Kim Moser and her gathering. Did you hear, Walter? No. It was a great time, wasn't it? Yes, it was. It was a big crowd. And I got to sing my old Kentucky home, which I always love to do. And, but you can see some of the work we've done down there for Tim, for Darius Beach, our veteran who now works and has for the last 3 years, hadn't missed a single day's work, except when he was in the hospital. And a Vietnam veteran. So he's all snuggled like a bug in the rug now in the camper. The mobile home, we're going to have to figure out a way to get that out of there because it's filled with mold and mildew and almost getting in with COPD on oxygen. But we need to take care of our veterans. And of course, that leads us into what this show is all about today, and that is our rights under the Constitution and also our support of our military folks and our first responders. And you can see there now we tried to figure out how to get the hot water heater working, Randy. Because all these campers are a little different. And you can see the work we did on the sewer line there and the water line and got them winterized so it's deep safe for that. So we wanted to show you a little bit about the end results of something that a lot of people helped out with, including all the folks over there at Jolly Plumbing and Elmer Plumbing and Tim Kaufman. But I tell you, any of this stuff about Miss Jim, Randy, and the prayers of Oak Ridge Baptist Church and the prayers of Bethesda Community Church and all of our folks. And there, right there, you see one of my favorite stops there, Judge, is out there at Kelly Q's. I think it's called Kelly Q's Dairy Queen. Look for Dairy Queen. Right there in Walton, Kentucky. I like to stop in there and have some good spare ribs or chili. And it's a great place to have a bite to eat. A lot of fine Christian folks. Of course, there we've seen the courthouse. Now, we're going to come to the part that the show's about here now. And that'll take me just a second to get to the right spot here. You know, technology at 76 years old is a challenge, Chuck.
You ever tried it at 81?
No. And, but I thought, well, it'd probably be a good idea to take and to put the resolution on that's going to be brought up at the fiscal court tomorrow night. And I want to tell folks, because you'll see this tonight on channel 422 on cable television, Spectrum Cable, thanks to Scott and Ryan and all the good folks that help us out here with public access here in Florence and Boone County and all of northern Kentucky, and our good friends down at the Northern Kentucky Telecommunications Board also. But we have here one that I did that has the resolution on it, if I can track it down here with my eyesight. And in the meantime, I'd like to ask my good friend Chuck Korsenborn, the High Sheriff, we always call him the High Sheriff of Kenton County. Chuck, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background while I'm searching for this.
Okay. My name is Charles Chuck Korsenborn. I'm the Kenton County Sheriff. I'm in my 22nd year of service. History is an interesting thing. I learned a long time ago you have to thank the Lord for the bad things that happen because it puts you on a proper course sometimes. The Commonwealth of Virginia has had a crisis come up because a left-wing legislature and the governor have passed some draconian anti-gun laws. The sheriffs in the state and Commonwealth of Virginia have come out with their fiscal courts and declared their individual counties sanctuaries for Second Amendment. It's a proclamation that merely gives states that the support that is given in the statewide Constitution cannot be surmounted by the federal Constitution. What the governor has done, in my view, is a violation of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, which I'll read a section of it to you. The meat of it is, quote, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and the immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law." What this does is, one of the first things that I thought of when this thing came up, it proves the importance of the electoral college. The electoral college on a federal level keeps the country from being ruled by just a few large cities like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles. If it weren't for the electoral college, we'd be under a left-wing possible dictatorship right now. States do not have electoral colleges, so it is a possibly true democracy. A true democracy has a hard time surviving. Generally, it's 200 years before the populace finds out how to feed at the public trough. I'll give an example of how true democracy works. There's a shipwreck, and there are 5 survivors, and they make it to a desert island. 3 of them are male, 2 of them are female. After a couple of weeks, boys got a little bored, and they decided to have an election whether to rape the ladies or not. Guess who won? So a true democracy is not what we have. We have a democratic republic, which gives the authority to most people with the cooperation of the representatives. In my view, that is the only thing that saved us from being a true democracy over the last 250 years.
Now, Chuck, how long have you been sheriff?
22 years.
22 years.
Yes.
That's a great deal of time. And I've known you all that time, haven't I?
Yes, you have. And before that, too.
And before that?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't tell any stories.
Okay. I'm trying to behave myself, but you always have been a very honorable man, and I've been very proud to be a friend of yours. But let me play this real quick here so that the folks can see what we're talking about that's going to take place tomorrow night. And that is, we want to make sure that if you see this tonight on television, now, once it's on the rest of the month, then we're going to have a look and see what Campbell County's doing and what Boone County's doing, what I think one of the counties last night, Grant County, I think, passed a resolution last night, I believe.
Yeah, Pendleton County did also.
Pendleton County did also, so we'll talk about that. But this will bring you up to date here, and I can read you the resolution. So I drove out to the courthouse and decided to read this resolution, and that's where the meeting will take place, let's see, tomorrow evening at 5:30, and everybody's invited. So let's see what how I did on this. Can you zoom in on that, Miss June?
Resolution of the Kenton County Fiscal Court, resolution number 2002. The resolution relating to the Kenton County Fiscal Court declaring Kenton County, Kentucky, a Second Amendment sanctuary. Whereas the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of our nation, and whereas the Second Amendment to the Constitution states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and whereas the United States Supreme Court has affirmed an individual's right to possess firearms, unconnected with service in a militia for traditionally lawful purposes, such as self-defense within the home, and whereas the United States Supreme Court has affirmed that the right of an individual to keep and bear arms as protected under the Second Amendment is incorporated by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment against the states, and whereas the United States Supreme Court in United States versus Miller, 1939, stated that firearms that are part of ordinary military equipment with use that could be contributed to the common defense are protected by the Second Amendment. And whereas the Kenton County Fiscal Court is concerned about the passage of any bill containing language which could be interpreted as infringing upon the rights of the citizens of Kenton County to keep and bear arms, and whereas the Kenton County Fiscal Court wishes to express its deep commitment to the rights of all citizens of Kenton County to keep and bear arms, and whereas the Kenton County Fiscal Court wishes to express opposition to any law that would unconstitutionally restrict the rights of the citizens of Kenton County. And whereas the Kenton County Fiscal Court wishes to express its intent to stand as a sanctuary county for Second Amendment rights and to oppose within the limits of the Constitution of the United States and the Commonwealth of Kentucky any efforts to unconditionally restrict such rights. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court of the County of Kenton, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, therefore be it resolved the Kenton County Fiscal Court hereby designates Kenton County as a Second Amendment sanctuary in order to preserve for the citizens of Kenton County their rights guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America. And be it further resolved, the Kenton County Fiscal Court hereby expresses its intent to uphold the Second Amendment rights of the citizens of Kenton County, Kentucky. And be it further resolved, the Kenton County Fiscal Court hereby declares its intent to oppose any infringement on the right of the law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms, and be it further resolved, the Kenton County Fiscal Court, through this resolution, hereby declares our rights, our freedom, and our liberty as guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States of America. Section 2, that this resolution is hereby approved and adopted in open session of the Kenton County Fiscal Court this 9th day of January 2020. Signed by Chris A. Knockelman, Judge Executive, Kenton County Fiscal Court. Attested to by Sue Kaiser, Fiscal Court Clerk. This is the resolution that's going to be brought before the Fiscal Court Thursday evening at 5:30. And I hope that the Fiscal Court passes the resolution and that Kenton County becomes a sanctuary county.
I'd like to make a comment.
You can go ahead and make a comment.
I want to clear up some confusion sometimes in people's minds about the militia. The militia is not the National Guard. The militia is all able-bodied persons aged 18 to 55.
Right.
I have what's called the power of the county, which is posse comitatus. If we have an incident, which instance would happen right here, I need assistance. I would say, Randy, Walter, John, I'm now hereby swearing you in as special deputies. You must do what I tell you, or I will. You're subject to arrest for violation. So that I want to set that straight. So what the militia is not National Guard. What this resolution does is supports the fact of already existing statute and decisions by Supreme Court. And I appreciate it very much on a personal basis that the Fiscal Court has seen fit to do this. It helps me a lot. And all the other law enforcement agencies in the county.
Well, Walter, introduce yourself here for us, the folks first.
Yeah, my name's Walt Starshock. I've been involved with the National Rifle Association originally as what was called an EVC, an election to volunteer coordinator. They gave me a promotion about a year ago to a FAL, which is a firearms liaison. And we've been working. We've dealt with this situation as long as I've been involved. We go back to the Obama administration. You know, we dealt severely with this back in 2012 and 2013, and we came up with, you know, Day of Resistance, which was big down in Florence, and this spread nationally throughout the country as well, too. But our Second Amendment rights right now, we're probably having one of the biggest. It's always been a challenge, but I think especially with what we're dealing with this situation of taking away our firearms, especially, you know, trying to do the ban on assault weapons. We've dealt with this before. Originally, Bill Clinton did this in 1974, and then Bush reversed it 10 years later. Barack Obama and Eric Holder came back in, and we had the same situation again back in 2012 and 2013, which was addressed, and that was dismissed. Dianne Feinstein was also involved in that. But the thing that we have to understand is that we're at a real crossroads right now, and it's very important that all strong men and women step forward in order to guarantee not only our Second Amendment, but all of our constitutional rights within our country. And these are very challenging times, and that's why it's going to be more important now than ever, especially as we come into 2020, especially with the 2020 election coming, that we get all able-bodied people together to support, step forward, be strong, and that's what we're seeing in the National Rifle Association. And not only there, but we've used this term before, you have to stand and fight. You have to stand and fight against tyranny. And this is what's going to be quite a challenge that we're dealing with here. And that's why I think with 2020, this is probably one of the most critical elections that we've had in quite a few years. So that's why all of us need to remain united and work strong and work hard together.
Well, thank you, Walter. It's great to have you here with us on our show. Are you ready? And great to have Chuck with us.
I got to make a comment on the assault weapon thing.
Okay.
An assault weapon at the revolutionary times was a brown dust musket.
Right.
The Second Amendment had nothing to do with hunting, with even self-protection. It had to do with a way of protecting yourself against a dictatorship. And assault weapon is such a, I hate the misnomer, but at any rate, the AR-15 and M16 are considered assault weapons now. Interestingly enough, the fellow named Stooner that developed the AR-15 developed it for hunting. What makes an assault weapon is what you use it for. A 12-gauge pump shotgun is an assault weapon if you use it for that. So I wish people would get out of their mind to put a title on something that doesn't really exist until it's used for what you're saying it is. Some of the measures in Virginia and also the old statutes restricting a weapon because it had a forestock, it had a pistol grip. Things of that nature, it's ridiculous. It's got nothing to do with safety. The first murder occurred in historic signs with a jawbone of an ass. You register all asses and we would have everybody in jail in this country.
Well, that's pretty clear there, Chuck. You always were a little rather direct.
Sorry about that. I'm not really.
Well, I want to clarify one thing here, which I think is important to say, because there's a lot of citizens out there that don't have any firearms at all.
Right.
And I'm one of them. And in fact, June often says, John, if you have a gun in the house, there are times I might just use it on you. She said she loves me most of the time. And she's running the camera right now, so I got to be real careful what I say, or she might cut us off completely.
Hell has no fury like the wrath of a woman.
That's right. And but anyway, we don't own a gun now. The last time I owned a gun was when my employees, when I was Commissioner of Motor Vehicles for the state of Kentucky, as a little gift to me, they gave me a beautiful shotgun. And I wound up, I don't know that I ever shot it. I wound up giving it to one of my grandsons, Dalton, who was a deer hunter. And I thought, well, he can make some use of this for his hunting adventures. But even though I don't own a gun, and June doesn't own a gun, we do believe very strongly in the rights of gun ownership and the right to bear arms, because anybody who turns on your television today, just for a few minutes, you're going to see something that's happening in the world right now by a dictatorship over in Iran, where they murder people just because of their faith or because of their whim. And that's the danger of any country. Look around the world and see how many democratic republics you have, and see how they are thriving and growing, and their growth and development and economic systems flourish. And people have, so many people we have trying to get into this country. It's because of godly principles, I believe. But we can lose those godly principles if we aren't vigilant. Randy, I'd like for you to speak biblically a little bit about God taught us about protect ourselves, good and evil, protect ourselves against the demons of the devil, and with shield and gird our loins. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's Ephesians 6, the full armor of God is what you're talking about. I talked about the spiritual battle, but equally, and there are a lot of folks that would disagree with what I'm about to say, and it's open. Some of it seems to be open to interpretation. But when you look at it, I think logically, and I certainly would be the first to stand in line for your right to disagree with me. You can be wrong if you want to. But looking at the situation, the Bible certainly says that if we as Christians don't take care of our own, then we're worse than infidels. That doesn't just talk about feeding. If your family is threatened and you don't step up to the plate, you can't always rely on someone else to do that. You need to be willing to do it. That's a tremendous responsibility. Nobody wants a skirmish. Spiritual skirmish, physical skirmish. Nobody wants it. Everybody wants peace. And that's the way it should be. Then we ought to strive toward that. But the reality is we're faced with the situation sometimes of having to defend ourselves. There are consequences that come with that. There are a lot of legal consequences. You need to think everything through and be ready. Jesus in the upper room, first Maundy Thursday, as a matter of fact, there were two swords against the wall. Read the scriptural account. The disciples said, what is hindering us from taking these swords? Jesus never forbade them. He did warn them, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. One of those swords certainly we knew was taken because they were in the hands of Peter in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he sliced off the ear of Malchus. Where did the other sword go? Did they take the second sword? I rather believe they did. I have no idea where it went. But clearly Jesus didn't say, no, you don't have the right to defend yourself. You have to just be a doormat. Certainly, Scripture does say peace is the ideal, but you do have a right, you have a responsibility to defend you and yours.
I'll make a comment on the Ten Commandments.
Certainly.
The commandment, thou shalt not kill, did not say thou shalt not kill. In original Amharic Greece, it was thou shalt not murder. That's a big difference. Yeah. And many a young fellow in the military struggled with that. Sergeant York, one of the few examples. And you're not supposed to change the wording of the Bible, and they changed that. And I challenge quite a few preachers on that score. They look it up, they'll say I'm right.
That's right. You literally do murder. Thou shalt not do murder. Literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of all this right now, we want to encourage folks in Kenton County to come out to this meeting that's going to be at the Kenton County Courthouse tomorrow evening. If you're watching this right now, it'll be Thursday, January the 9th at 5:30 p.m. And in a respectful manner, all political parties, this is not a one-party only thing. This is a constitutional support type gathering. And the fiscal court's already got the resolution drafted and sent me a copy of it, and that's what I read from. And so you have an idea of what they're going to do, which sounds to be very reasonable. And it sends a message. The most important thing I think about these courthouses doing this, and I think, Walter, you told me Grant County did it last night, and Pendleton County.
Pendleton County on it.
And so those two counties passed the resolution, didn't they?
Yes.
And I understand it's going to be brought up in Boone County also. I don't know the date yet, but they have a fiscal court meeting coming later in the month. And then Campbell County, somebody's working over there too to get this done. So they're working in all the counties of Kentucky, all 120 of them. I've been to all of them. That's quite a challenge when you're dealing with 120 counties. But the main message that this sends is a vocal message to our legislators and to the governor and to anybody else that we don't need more laws on this subject.
Right.
Really what we do need is more Christian love taught.
Amen.
And practicing the Ten Commandments. Now I'm going to say something here that might be a little controversial. We should have never taken the Ten Commandments out of our school systems. They were posted on every classroom in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and across the nation. The nation was founded on godly principles, and I can say that as a government teacher, an advanced government teacher. And I think it's a tragedy when the National Education Association or the Teachers Union can come out and pass a resolution saying that we're going to teach transgenderism to our students, regardless of what we're told to do in each of the states. We're going to teach gay marriage. We're going to teach all these things. I wish they'd get back to teaching government, teaching citizenship, and teaching what people's rights are and how to protect those rights. That's what we need to be doing.
Well, that's one of the good things that's happening on this movement. People are getting a little civics lesson.
That's right, a civics lesson.
Yeah, as for the Ten Commandments, they are posted in the Capitol, U.S. Capitol.
Right. So I think that we see what brings these things home to us, though, more is when we see what happens around the world and when the media covers things around the world. And you have to watch for the biasness in the media. One thing I like about public access, we have freedom of speech. We can come on and say what's on our minds, and someone else can come on and say what's on their mind. But we can take a look at what the president did and what he's going to do in reference to what took place by the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran, and bombing, sending cruise missiles over. And I understand from what I've known so far, no one was killed in that process. So does that open a door for us to have more diplomacy? Well, I think that the important thing is that the president have all of the proper information, and we have one president at a time. If you don't like Donald Trump, wait until the election to voice your opinion. Get off his back and stop this ridiculous impeachment. And remember that our freedoms are at stake. And we need a president who is free to operate and clear to think. Not someone who's having his own Congress tell him what and when and how to do it and expect him to come over and sit down at their table and explain it all to them before he does it. This is a world of technology that we live in. And in a matter of minutes, we can have missiles down our throats. And we cannot pussyfoot around and try to wait for everybody to be explained every move he's going to make. That's why you have generals, that's why you have advisors, and that's why you have intelligence, and that's why you have an elected president. An elected president. We don't have a dictator, we have an elected president. And he will and has eventually reported to Congress what's going on. And we've been at war with these people since 1979. So now, where are we today? Here we are worried about some of our own people, I call them the liberal elitists, trying to take arms out of our citizens' hands. Well, it's those arms in our citizens' hands are the last defense for keeping a democratic republic. And while I'm 76 and wouldn't know how to use a pistol or a gun, which somebody showed me. I know that there's a lot of citizens out there that work very hard to train themselves and that are very professional, and I have yet to see a crazy that is in the National Rifles Association that isn't a person of great citizenship. And Chuck, and Charles, and Walter, I appreciate what you're doing and how you're doing it and what you're going about. Now, what's the goal here with the organization, with the National Rifles Association now?
Right now, the situation, is it's a shame, though, that this whole thing is almost a sideshow of what's really going on, with the Ukraine situation and so forth, and they take these and draw the attention away from what some of the critical issues are. Right now, I know with the situation that's going on in Virginia, if we roll the clock back, say 7 months ago, remember when Northam, when it was identified about him in that college, about with the blackface, and then the biggest thing was with the abortion rights. So let the child go ahead and be born. We'll make the mother comfortable, and the child, then what we can do in an abortion at that time, which is totally against. So in a way, I don't know, and I'm just thinking when I see the big picture of this thing, I think maybe in a way he is coming back, and it's part of all of these deep state root things that are in the background. You've got Bloomberg, you have Soros money. I mean, we see this there, and I believe we even had tentacles of that here in Kentucky. Kentucky and Virginia in particular were the two test cases for the 2020 election, is what I see what's going on. So I know that the grassroots organizations, not only the National Rifle Association, the Citizens' Rights to Bear Arms, the National Association of Gun Rights and so forth, they're all working together on this because it's a very cohesive unison that's going on with this. Because what it does, it's setting the pattern so that, especially as we come to this election, it's going to give a signal to the elitists, and the deep state like that too, that we're not going to have our Second Amendment rights taken away from us. Not only that, but our other constitutional rights. And it's very, very important. The next issue that's coming out, we're talking about these red flag laws. That's another issue. After we deal with this, and the thing with that is, you take a look at historically. You go back to the World War II. You go back to Hitler. You go to Stalin, and and that's the first thing that they started. They went in there and they started confiscating firearms.
Absolutely.
And take away the Second Amendment. Well, they didn't have amendments there, but take firearms, because if you can disarm a population, that opens the doors wide open for full control. And you look at that historically, not only with Hitler, you saw it with Stalin, you saw it with Pol Pot in Cambodia, you saw it with Mao in China, and it always works that way, and it continues and it expands. So that's why it's so important now that you stop this, like the saying, cut the head off the snake before it bites you. So this is why it's so important now that that we all stand together on this and unify and continue to protect our rights, not only for all the Constitution, but for the Republic that's so sacred to us.